Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you're watching Save Today with Heather J. I'm somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. I decided that it is time for that to change. Anytime in the past when I have created a budget, I haven't been able to stick to the budget. Things get very difficult very quickly, and ultimately I move on. It doesn't happen. And I needed to change that. I needed to create a budget and stick to a budget. So I created a channel to invite you guys along. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not an investment broker. This channel is in no way a how-to. I'm not here to teach. I'm just stumbling my way through, making all of the mistakes I've spent a lifetime making and trying to get out from underneath some of my bad debt, some of my bad choices. And I am so that's what this is. So if you're here to learn how to do things right, maybe you should go find someplace else that actually knows how to do things right, because that's not me. But if you're here watching me struggle and watching me, for my successes and for my losses, because there are both of them every single week, every single month, then, welcome. Let's take this ride together. Today's video is going to be my August week 4 flexible spending check-in. I want to watch every week my flexible spending, because my flexible spending is the areas I get myself into great trouble in. I personally struggle most with my dining out category. My flexible spending is my groceries, my dining out, my transportation, my art, and any miscellaneous. All of those categories are things that I have some control over, I have some choice with. I can choose to go spend money related to my art or not. I can choose where I go spend my groceries, when I go get my groceries, where I'm shopping from. I can choose what I'm putting in my cart. And I don't owe anything until I get to the point at the register. So those I have control over. The electricity bill, I don't have control over what my utilities are going to be. Not in a way that impacts greatly, and not in a way that is a proactive way. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what this video is about. This is week 4 for me in August. Week 4 in August for me is the 18th to the 24th. I get paid every other Friday, so my weeks go from Friday to the following Thursday. And so we're going to look today at what it is I spent in those 5 categories in the last week of August for me. So let's get into that and see what that looks like. On the 20th, in the groceries category, I went to Kroger's and I spent $14.12. Kroger's is my grocery store of choice for a couple of reasons. One, mostly because it's close to my house, and it's quick and easy to get in and get out. Walmart would be a cheaper option, and I do go there sometimes, but for my day-to-day grocery shopping, my quick in and out, my sanity and my time is worth more to me than the little bit of savings I can get if I choose to go to Walmart. On the 21st, in the groceries category, I once again took myself to Kroger and I spent $10.75. On the 22nd, in the transportation category, I put $19 in the gas tank. And that, my friends, is the extent of the spending I did in week 4. No dining out, no art, no miscellaneous, just those 3 transactions in this week. Let's go take a look at what that does for my carryover numbers in my weekly estimate. When I set up my flexible spending for the month, I give myself an estimate of X amount per category for each week, and then I carry that through the 4 weeks. Last week, I had done a math error in my groceries. Somehow I managed to have one transaction entered twice in my groceries category, and I managed to not catch that in all of the times of going back and forth with double checking myself. So I did have to make a correction for my numbers here in my groceries, which made a correction here for my totals at the end of the week. So as we carry week 4 over, in my groceries category, those two transactions were $24.87. Last week I was left with $74.90 in that category. So I spent $24.87, which left me with an extra $50 that I did not spend or in that category. In my dining out category, once again, I did not spend anything this week, but because of spending I did in week 1 and week 2, and mostly because of the damage I did to myself in week 2, I was negative 169 even in that category. I already had that conversation when I went over my week 2 spending. I'm not really thrilled with what I did to myself, and that was 100% me stepping into old ways. Life got quite a bit challenging for me, and I just ate. I took myself out instead of cooking, and I can't go back and undo it. I wish that I could, but I can't. So once the negative 169 in my dining out category. I did not give myself any budget for dining out, art, and miscellaneous in this month's flexible spending estimate. So I knew that was likely going to be negative, but not that much. This is the one area that has always been and always likely will be a challenge point for me. In the transportation category, I did just have that one gas for $19. Last week, I was left with $81.40 in that category in my estimation. I spent the $19, that left me with $62.40 in that category. In my art, I did not spend anything in my art that last week. I did go and look at Joann's with the possibility of spending money, and ultimately was able to control myself and not get, but I needed to go and play the game with myself in order to come back home and be confident that I didn't need to go spend that money. So I went the entire month without spending anything in my art category. And then in the miscellaneous, this week I did not spend anything in the miscellaneous, but because of spending that happened in the rest of the weeks, I did finish out that category at negative 104.13. And there's only one transaction in this in the miscellaneous that maybe I could have not done at this time, but everything else was stuff that was really pretty important. And I wish it wasn't $104 negative, but I don't feel bad about any of those transactions. So I spent $43.87 in my flexible spending category last week, which does have me finishing out the month over budget or over estimate by $160.70. And so, again, outside of the groceries or the dining out I did in week 2, I spent $156.19 in week 2, and I'm over budget by $160. So if I had reined myself in better, this would not be what it is. This is my challenge. This is my budget. This is a huge part of why I'm in the situation I'm in. It's going to be a struggle for me every week, every month, for probably the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years. I imagine, again, this is over 30 years of behaviors I'm having to change. I can't magically fix that and wish it away and have it be gone in an instant. If I could, that would have happened 20 years ago. So that's where I am at the end of my week 4 flexible spending. Wasn't a whole lot of spending this week, thankfully, because I certainly spent a lot 2 weeks ago. So that's where we're at. That's the end of today's budgeting video. For those of you who've been with me for any length of time, that you know that I like to, at the end of my channel, go over the craft I'm working on this week, or this month. This month I'm working on some pot holders, and because I'm playing a game of catch up and filming every day, there's not a whole lot of changes from one video to the next on what's happening in my craft behind us. Yesterday, I had all of my layers for these pot holders clipped together. 4 of them were trimmed and 2 were not. Today, I do have all of those sewn together, and so we'll take a look at what that looks like. Again, I have my backing fabric, my jeans pockets. This is a back pocket and a coin pocket I wanted to turn into pot holders. This is an idea that's been percolating in my mind for probably 3 or 4 years. Just as a way to use up these this material, because it's all usable material outside of the hole I put in my jeans. So in here in the middle, I have a layer of cotton batting for quilting and a layer of Insulbright. Insulbright has a silver mylar layer that reflects the heat away. So I have the back fabric and the mylar's facing this way, my 2 layers of cotton. I told you yesterday that I was going to make one and then try and use it, or stitch the edges around one and then use it and make sure that 1 cotton batting and 1 Insulbright was enough to actually reflect the heat and keep my hands from burning. And we did make some tater tots in the oven. That cooks at 425 or 450, and when I pulled the pan out of the oven, it was not hot, and then I actually grabbed the oven rack and just held on to the oven rack for a while, and there was no heat transfer passing through there at all. So that was good. And so then I went ahead and sewed the other 4 that I had already trimmed, and then was able to trim the other 2 that were waiting because I didn't have enough binding clips. So that's where we're at with that. Then the next thing I needed to do was figure out how wide I wanted the binding on the edge of the fabric, or at the edge of the pot holder, so that obviously these frayed edges aren't fraying everywhere. And so this was just a test piece here to decide how thick I wanted that, and this I decided this was the right size. I do have to be a little bit more careful with my spacing and stuff on that, but I'm happy with the way this turned out, so that's the size I'm going with. I did cut myself 1 larger piece into 3 strips that were this length, and I'm going to try them around a couple before I cut the rest of my binding fabric into those strips to get me through getting this done. So that will be my project for tonight, is getting the binding cut and sewn on, and see how far I can get on that. And so that's the difference. That's where I'm at with these. Almost done with the project, almost done with the month, and then we get to move on to bigger and brighter things. That is where we're at. That is where I'm doing. So I thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be my week 2 closeout, and we'll see if these are all done, or just a few of them, or if I've just got my binding strips cut and ironed. And that's where we're at. So thank you so much for joining me today, wherever you are, and whatever it is you're doing today. Please have fun. Bye bye now.